Hey, welcome everybody to the presentation. I'm Trevor, and I'm going to be hosting today. And today, you can see on my screen, we're looking at a quote that, oddly enough, I had from a client a little while ago. This was quite a while ago. So for those of you guys who work with us right now or in the program, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about somebody from the past. But this is one day after working with them for a little while. This is the conclusion they came to. They told me flat out on the phone, they said, Trevor, retail drop shipping on eBay doesn't work. And that was their conclusion. And shortly thereafter, they quit the strategy. We moved on to other things because they had decided for them that it just simply didn't work. Now, let me ask you guys who are here live, if you've ever done any retail drop shipping, I'm sure at some point, one time or another, you've probably felt just like this. True? For those of you guys who have done it a little bit, maybe you felt like, some of the out-of-stock issues were a headache, or you just weren't closing enough sales, or you weren't listing things fast enough. Have you ever felt like that a little bit? Yeah, some of you guys have. And I think that's okay. If you felt like that, anybody who's ever done any retail drop shipping on eBay has sometimes felt a little skeptical about it, either because of a slow start or just some trouble that they've had. Anyway, so if you've ever had that thought in your mind, just like this client I'm telling you about, that's natural. Like, that's going to happen every once in a while. So I wanted to bring that up very first thing to let you know that you guys are you're in a good group, because we've all felt like that a little bit. Okay, so let me share with you a little bit of the background of my client that felt like this and ended up sort of just giving up on it. Now, I get some of you guys may do much better on your websites, and you may want to focus on that long term, and I get that, and I'm all about that, because sometimes the website has even more upside than what we're doing on eBay. But the retail drop shipping does work, and there's usually a way around different issues that you might have. Here's what happened with my client here, okay? And just to reiterate, this isn't any of you guys, I promise. if you're thinking of yourself, no, this isn't you. Here's a little bit of background. Okay, so this client was someone who had listed about 60 items. Okay, total. That was about how many items they got into their store total. 60. Okay, and number two, many of them were the same exact niche, just variations. So not that this is what it was, but it would be like if you listed 60 different bed sets or bedding sets, right? That's kind of what this client did. They listed 60 of kind of the same type of item, just varied a little bit, and that was what they had done. All their products were from the same supplier as well, same retail supplier. So they really just tried one and listed all 60 of their products from that supplier. And they listed, and 7 days went by and nothing really sold, and so they relisted everything. 7 days went by again, number 4 here, and nothing sold. And so that's when they decided that they had had enough, and they moved on to something else. Now, for my clients that are in Canada, you have an additional challenge. This client wasn't a Canadian client; they were an American. But your challenge can sometimes be, if you're doing retail drop shipping into America, the exchange rate is a concern, because it's more expensive to buy product here, and so it's more costly, and you have to price things up more. It is more difficult. I definitely understand that. So I want to make sure I put that out there. But in general, this is kind of what happened with this specific client. And I want to ask you guys, especially you guys that have a little more experience, so this client walked away from it and stopped, right? And I always hate that because some of my very best clients that I've had in the program, they had rocky starts at the beginning, really rocky starts. In fact, I always like to point out these two because they were clients I worked with directly. If you go to elsmentor.com/success, a lot of you guys have probably seen this. elsmentor.com/success. I'll send the link out to everybody just so you guys all have it. And if you go to our testimonials section, two of my very favorite clients of all time, we've featured them here. Dan was one of my clients. He and I started together, I think, back in 2012, so 3 years ago. And then Anthony here started in, I want to say it was 2013. I think that's when it was. Anyway, if you haven't seen these videos yet, these are two examples of individuals who just only did retail drop shipping. They actually never did any website stuff. They just did the drop shipping strategy on eBay, and both have done exceptionally well. Made plenty of money doing it. Did hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales. You know, had months where they made really good money. So anyway, watch these because I always think about these two clients when I get a client that bails on me early, wanting to maybe focus on something a little bit different other than the retail strategy. And I'm all about that because in our program, we want to make money a lot of different ways. We want to do retail drop shipping. We want to do wholesale drop shipping. So for some of you guys, it's optional. We can do a little bit of inventory. We certainly want to create our own website. Like, there's all these different ways that you can make money. But these two clients here just really embraced the retail drop shipping and did substantially better than some of our other clients, and especially this one that I'm talking about right now. So if you guys haven't seen these, go ahead and watch them. It'll help instill a little more confidence in the retail strategy because it's nice to see other people that have done really well. But knowing this, guys, knowing the background of this client that didn't do so well, I mean, I know some of you guys don't have a lot of experience on this, but what could we have done differently with that person, right? Just to summarize again, they listed 60 products total. Most were in the same industry, same supplier, and then after 2 weeks, they had sort of thrown up their hands and called it good. So what could we do differently here? I actually couldn't convince them to continue doing it, and that's fine. They went on and did other things, but what could we do differently? I'm curious from you guys that have some experience. Okay, so first of all, I got to agree with you there, Felicia. Some of you other guys made this comment too. List more items. So I'm going to just write this down. List more products, right? Is 60 products a lot in the retail strategy? For some of you guys that are newer, it might seem that way, but it's really not. It's not that many, is it? I mean, I would agree, not at all. I always remember when I tell people about this strategy, and I tell them how my most successful clients had 300, 400, 500, 600 listings going at once, and I know it kind of blows your mind because you're like, wow, how could I ever keep up on an eBay store that's that big? Well, you can, and there's some ways to do it. But those clients I was talking about earlier, Dan and Anthony, they both had hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of items in their eBay store. So blaring mistake number one is you need more items to make the retail strategy work. The best example I can give for that is the next time you walk into a big department store or a big brand, big box store like a Walmart or a Target, just take a minute and look around and try to count all the products on the shelves standing in one place, and I'll bet you can't do it. You'll lose count. There's too many products. You'll say, Trevor, that's crazy. I'm not going to sit there and do that anyway, but you get my point. They have tons of products in their stores. If Walmart was a fraction of the size and only listed just a few products, they'd never be the multi-billion-dollar company that they are today. Now, I'm not telling you guys that we're trying to become a Walmart. We're not. But on a small scale, we use the same principle, which is the more products you have in your store, the more products you're going to sell. And I couldn't get my client to understand that, because she had the idea that if she had 60 items, that all of them should be selling, and if you know, and it would be odd if some didn't sell. I mean, she thought that you just kind of the mentality that if you build it, they will come mentality, right? You just list the product, and that ensures that you're going to get sales. That's just not true. Anyway, so list more products. Absolutely agree. Let's see what else. What other feedback we got here? Variety. I'm seeing that from Jeff. You said variety. Frank, you mentioned more varied to test the market. Lorna, you said the same thing. More variety. Kelly, you said higher quantity. Absolutely. I'm going to say variety then. What's the problem with her listing 60 items in one specific niche? Or is it a problem? Is there a reason why you wouldn't want to have that many items that are sort of related? Yeah, I agree, Kelly. Not everybody buys bedding sets. And when you're trying to figure out what's going to work for you on eBay, it's really wise to start with a variety. So yeah, I mean, you could have 60 bedding sets in your eBay store, but it probably should be coupled with a whole plethora of other niches that you're listing as well. Some of my best clients had little niches like this where they really focused on them, and they had 60, 70, 80, 100, 150 items that were very similar, but they also had a lot of other stuff too. So you really need more of a variety, no doubt about that. You need to try different products. So I'm going to say variety, try different niches, and you're going to discover what works for you. My favorite story about that, and I always tell this story because it's kind of I think all of you guys can relate to this, but I had a client once that when they were first starting to list on eBay, they asked me the golden question, which is, what should I sell, right? And I said, well, let's try a variety of things first. And they said, well, but shouldn't you know exactly what sells, right? Aren't you the expert? Shouldn't you know exactly what's selling? And I say, yeah, but everything sells. And that's the thing that blows people's minds, is that really everything sells on eBay. You just have to find the right niche for you. And so this person got out there and followed my advice and listed a bunch of stuff, and they finally they stumbled on a pretty good niche that I never would have thought of. They were these colorful office chairs, all sorts of different colors: red, green, purple, black, white, you name it. Found it from some retailer, and they started to sell like crazy. She was selling them all the time. And then what we decided to do from there is we said, okay, well, let's go find more of those kind of office chairs, maybe some different variations, maybe find them from some different retail suppliers, and that's what we did. And that was that ended up being one of the niches that she really specialized in. That would have never come about. She would have never found that or stumbled upon it had she not been willing to go out there and test the market a little bit. So it's okay to list products and have them not sell. That happens to all of us. You're not going to have a 100% sell-through rate. In the retail strategy, that's okay because it's about volume. So try a variety. I want you guys all to remember that. If you don't really have your niche and you haven't really discovered what's selling well for you, don't be afraid to list a giant variety. I think that's really sound advice. Yeah, and most of you guys are leaving me comments about that. Let's see. Yeah, bigger range of items, Sam says. Yeah, so now some of you guys are saying try different retail suppliers. And I agree. I'm going to put that down here. Try different suppliers. Now, what do you guys mean by that? What do you guys mean, try different suppliers? And Jeff, I hear you. Jeff said, I'm struggling to get 10 listings total. imagine having a store that has 500, right, Jeff? It does blow your mind a little bit, but it's a little bit like, I don't know if any of you guys are runners, but anybody who's run or prepared to run like a marathon, 26 miles sounds like a really, really, really long way to run. And if you've never done any running before, it would seem impossible, but you build up to it, right? This is a skill just like anything else you'll do. And so 10 listings, you'll get that, and then you'll get up to 20, and then it'll be 50, and then you'll find you're getting faster and faster. And so, yeah, that's definitely common. That's common, Jeff. You'll do fine. You're still really new, so you'll do great. Let's see. Let's look through some of your guys' other comments. Yeah, well, let me comment on try different suppliers first. You know, when you're first learning about the retail strategy, who are some of the biggest suppliers that we recommend right off the bat? Yeah, I'll just list them here. We use Walmart, don't we? Target, maybe, Amazon, Overstock, Sears. I mean, you name it. Those are the ones that we kind of give to everybody when you first start because they're pretty easy to use. So if you think about it, I mean, anybody who's doing the retail strategy is probably starting there, and there's a little more competition using those suppliers, which is why we later teach you to branch out and try new suppliers. So just because in our examples that we give you, we tell you about these big ones, doesn't mean that's what you have to stick with forever. Not to say these aren't good, because I've got a few clients that swear by some of these big box suppliers, these big brand name ones, and they do really well, and it's a staple for their company. But then they've also got other more boutique suppliers that you typically wouldn't think of using, that you find in Google, and we'll probably do a session on that at some point. But different suppliers, right? Not your main ones, because those don't have as much competition in eBay. These ones will. So use them to learn off of, and use them to get making sales. But then later branch out and find some of your own ones. So try a variety of suppliers. And that was one of the biggest mistakes she made. She didn't give this one supplier enough of an opportunity, but try different suppliers. Yeah. You know who's a good example of that is this guy here, Anthony. Anthony makes most of his money off of a supplier that he found that I'd never heard of before, and they're very much a specialty supplier. They weren't like a discount retailer like a Walmart. They just specialized in a very a very specific type of product. And he tried them on eBay, started making sales, then started to add more of their products, started making more sales, and then almost used them exclusively for a long, long time. And that's his story. Had he not branched out and tried some different specialty suppliers, he may not be doing as well as he's doing. I think that's one of the biggest ingredients to his success. So keep that in mind. It's okay to start with the normal ones, but maybe branch out as we go, and we'll teach you guys more about how to do that. Let's see. Yeah, Lorna, you said don't be afraid to hike up the price. Tell me about that, because I know you've had some sales recently where you've done okay. In your experience, Lorna, has that been true, that sometimes the price doesn't matter quite as much as we think? Because that's been my experience, and I definitely teach that. Shirley, you guys asked, can you use suppliers from different counties? Yeah. In fact, you can use any supplier, really, with you guys being in the U.S., you can use any retail supplier from across the entire country, because all of our buying is facilitated through the internet, so it doesn't have to be somebody local, not at all. Yeah, Kelly, you make a good point here. I'm going to add this as number 4. And I got to say, I didn't add it to the case study background here, but this lady that we're talking about, she was super analytical. So everything she listed, she spent a great deal of time on it, which is probably why she got a little frustrated. I mean, if you can imagine taking, 30 minutes per listing or more, thinking a lot about it, researching eBay, and then you put all those 60 listings up and nothing sells. I understand why she got a little frustrated, but Kelly makes a good point here. Here's what Kelly says. She says, I think that starting off, the biggest time consumer is to overthink exactly what you think will sell and what won't sell instead of just getting items listed. I couldn't agree more. So if you're starting, I'm going to put this in big red letters here. I'm going to highlight this. Don't overanalyze. Okay? And that makes a big difference. Don't overanalyze. The retail strategy doesn't require a lot of market research. You shouldn't be on eBay looking at everybody else's prices. I guess you can, but it doesn't do you any good because this is a volume speed strategy. You want to be more about getting more products up, looking at how your products are doing, and then adjusting from there. You don't really look at the market. And I know that sounds a little counterintuitive to most of you guys because everything you learn about business is that you should do a lot of market research and you should be very careful about what kind of a niche you choose. That's not true as much with this strategy. So don't overanalyze. Just get listings up and learn how to do it fast. Good point. Elvis just asked a good question. He says, I don't remember if you have to contact the suppliers in order to do the drop shipping or not. Retailers typically know. Retailers, you can just list their products and have them drop ship. The companies where you really need to contact suppliers are more of your wholesale companies because they sometimes will have applications and they'll have some stipulations that you have to meet in order to use them. But for you, Elvis, most retail drop shippers, retail companies in general, you don't need to contact. And check with your coach too. If you've got one on your mind that you want to try out, check with your coach and get some feedback because they may have some experience with it. I don't pretend to have used all the suppliers that are out there, not even close, but I've either used them or I've worked with somebody who's used them, and I can usually give you some pretty good feedback. This is an interesting idea too. Let me read, if you don't mind, I'm going to read this, Felicia. Felicia says, is there a better price point to list? I have listed toilet paper all the way to outdoor furniture. I know more expensive items have fewer buyers, but the items may be more unique. Or is it better to sell lower priced items so that there will be more of a customer base? What do you guys think? You guys that are here live and that do this strategy, what do you guys think? So basically, should you list lots of cheaper items, maybe more unique items, or should you focus on higher priced items like furniture? Everybody's a little bit different. I'll answer this, and I'd be curious to see what some of the other people that are here say, Felicia. But I've seen people do well in all of them, and I've had some experience in all of them. I really like the higher end stuff, the more expensive stuff, because it's really satisfying when you close a sale to make 70, 80, 90 bucks on one single sale. Because the workload is very similar. It took you, 7 minutes to list the item, and it took you, 7 minutes to order it and fulfill it, and you made $90 off of that piece of furniture. Well, maybe it takes you 7 minutes to list the item and 7 minutes to fulfill it, and it's a little, $75 item that you sold, and you're only making $7 on it. The workload is the same. But you are right. I mean, if you're selling larger items, bigger priced items, they're not going to be quite as many buyers, and so you may not sell as many. But it's worth it over the long haul. I've found that. So Anthony, this guy right here, our second testimonial on this list, his items, their price points are anywhere between $100 and about $175. That's his average sale item on eBay. Dan up here, Dan, his was higher. He sold items more between 200 and up to $600-700. So their price points were a little bit different. And then on the other hand, I've had a lot of experience selling cheaper items. Not necessarily as much with the retail drop shipping, but with some of my own stuff I carry inventory, I've sold some cheaper items and had some pretty good success that way. But for the most part, if you're doing the retail strategy, you probably shouldn't be selling items that you're getting for less than $50 because it just makes it harder that way. I've just found a little more success in stuff that's a little higher price than that. But everybody's on a little bit of a different journey and has different experience. That's a hard question to answer, Felicia, but that's my best way of answering it. So general question from Robert here. How do you do the shipping labels and how do you get tracking numbers? If we're doing drop shipping, you're going to order your product through, say, Walmart or whomever it is, and then Walmart will ship it out, and then they'll actually email you a tracking number, and you'll take that tracking number and you'll load it up into eBay, and then your customer is able to follow it that way. Yeah, Frank says, shouldn't you maybe set aside some time to do some research? This would be different from listing time. Have ideas in mind before you go to a specific listing. Yeah, I agree. So before you sit down and do your listings, maybe you sit down and you think about, all right, what types of products do I want to try today? What market do I want to try? Maybe you've noticed in your statistics that a lot of your springtime products are doing really well right now. So you think, okay, I'm going to do springtime. I'm going to focus on that. Yeah, I think there should always be a little bit of time set apart to think about that kind of thing. I think that's a good point. Sam says, when should we move to higher priced items to sell? That all depends on your limit, Sam. So you guys know that, each eBay account has limits, right? Some of you guys have higher limits than others. Dan here, in our example, his limit was so high he couldn't ever keep up with it. It was over $1 million a month. Can you imagine? Like he could list over $1 million, and he could do like 2,500 listings a month, over $1 million worth of stuff. But he battled with his limits for the first few months because he was wanting to list higher priced items right off the bat. So to answer your question, whenever eBay will accommodate higher limits, that's when you want to start taking advantage of it. Because if you've got a $5,000 limit and you're trying to list, $500 products, that you just don't have enough room to do much damage there, right? You're listing 10 products and then you're done. So you have to have a limit that's in the $25,000, $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 mark to where you can really start listing some of those higher priced items. Yeah, I've heard that too. Frank says items listed ending in 0.97. Research says that tends to sell better. Yeah, that's true. It's odd, but it's true. Is that your limit right now, Sam? 313,000. So you could try a few higher priced items, but it's still not big enough to have a steady diet of higher priced ones. So that'll be tough. And yeah, Elvis, you've got to register for eBay and PayPal separately. Yeah. Let's go back to our list here for a sec. I've liked all your comments, so I appreciate it. Anything else that we need to add here specifically? So we have list more. We need a variety of different niches so you can find your own. Try different suppliers. Don't overanalyze. Somebody just said 80 characters. That was you. That was you, Robert. I agree. 80 character long titles. Need to use good keywords in your titles. But even then, in our case study today, the person I'm talking about had really good titles, and they still didn't sell anything those first couple of weeks. So for these other reasons, that would have solved the problem. So titles won't solve everything, but they certainly help. How about this? I know this is hard because we're all so ambitious and we want to get making money at this, but you got to have a little bit of patience. I mean, if this were so easy that you just put a product up for sale and then it sold the very next day, and every single time you did that it sold, everybody would already be doing this, and there would be no money left, right? It's not that easy. You have to learn how to do it, and of course you're being trained on how to do it, but just be patient with it because over time it will work. I told you guys a minute ago, our two of our favorites here in the program, they struggled their first month. They struggled a little bit. Dan especially, he was super skeptical of the program in general. You know, and obviously, right? A lot of you guys just meet us briefly, and then all of a sudden you're in our program, and he was way skeptical. And he told me that right over the phone the first time we met. He said, Trevor, I don't know how legit this is, and I answer that question the same way every time. I said, Dan, it is legitimate, and I can tell you that over and over again. But the only way you're ever really going to believe me is if you do it. And he did, and did real well. So I'm going to even put that here too. I don't mind some skepticism. You're going to be skeptical until it works. And so if you ever have feelings that way, like you're not in the minority. A lot of my clients do, but once you start closing sales, you kind of see the power behind it, and it gets exciting for sure. Yep, and there's a learning curve. Don't give up on it too soon, right, Lorna? I agree. I agree. Everybody's going to go through different struggles when they try this. For as good as this strategy is, it has some weaknesses, and we work to overcome those. There's no perfect strategy out there, right? But I've found for 99% of my clients, if we can get this strategy rolling, it can be what pays you back and makes you good money right off the bat while you're working on some other things. If you can get the retail drop shipping working, everything else is a little bit easier. You're a little bit more comfortable financially, of course, because you're making money. Once you get it rolling, it's easy to step away from it and start working on your website and start working on multiple websites, right? It's just nice when you've got one thing going for you, and this can definitely be that thing. When do you establish an eBay store? Delia just asked. When it makes sense financially, really, and since eBay's made some changes with their fees recently, most of you guys after about a month of being in the program are probably going to want to sign up for an eBay store. So talk to your coach about that, but that makes sense usually about the 1 month mark or sooner, depending on how quickly you're doing listings. Good question. All right, so I want to finish up here, guys. I think the main takeaway today should be, if you've ever thought about this right here, and maybe even said it in your mind a few times, that you don't think the retail strategy works, you're not alone. And even our best clients thought that at one point in time. But if you persevere and you work hard and you follow some of these little pieces of advice that I offered and that many of you guys have offered today, you can end up doing real well. And no, it's not our only strategy. It's our introductory strategy. You'll be working with wholesalers and other types of drop shippers and working on your website. But we really like this to do well, because this can act as a springboard for the rest of your businesses that you work with us. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and finish up. Let me turn off the recording if you're watching this recorded. Once again, glad you're here. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for being here.